This next webinar is on entering and printing stock labels. So we're going to do this webinar in two parts. The first part that we're going to talk about is how to enter stock labels into the system. When you enter stock labels into the system, you already have the inventory on hand. You just simply want a label for it. So we're not re-receiving anything. This inventory is already there in your existing inventory. All we want to do is get a label for it. So whether it's a label that fell off of the merchandise or it's a price increase that you're needing new labels for that price increase, we will use the enter stock labels for this. And in most cases, up at the top right hand corner, you will be at that store level that you're going to be printing those labels for. Although you can enter and print stock labels for the top level as well. But in most cases, you'll be at that store level. So we're going to click on Inventory, Labels, and Enter Stock Labels. This will bring you into the Enter Stock Label screen. You have two different tabs. You have the Stock Label Entry and the Stock Labels that have been entered. And then you have the Label Selection method. I'm going to go through each one of these methods. The default is Selected SKUs, one label for each item on hand. And what that basically means is when I pull up this SKU, it's going to pull up on a size grid everything that is currently on hand for that SKU in the system, meaning I want a label for everything that's on hand. So maybe that item, the price was increased, and instead of having to put one by one and manually enter in each size, this makes it really easy just to say I want a label for everything that is on hand for this SKU. That's what this option is. So in this example, I did the selected SKUs, one label for each item on hand. I typed in the MR1064SR for the SKU, or you can use the lookup and select it. And the size grid pops up with everything that is currently on hand for that SKU, the quantities in each size. So I don't have to go to the 9.5 and put a 1, a 10, and put a 2. It'll automatically pull that up for me. Like I said, that's used if you do like a price increase where you need labels for a particular SKU for everything that's on hand, or you made a mistake on a description when you were putting the description in that SKU and you just want new labels for this SKU number. The next option is Selected SKUs, user enters what labels to print. So if I select that, I can go ahead and put in the SKU again, and I'll just choose that same SKU. And once I bring that SKU up, the size grid comes up, but no quantities. It's just a blank size grid. So this is designed for if you have maybe one size that you need a label for, and that's it for a SKU. So maybe a label came off of an item and I just need one 9.5D. I can just put that quantity in and I can click on Save. Now if I want to save this and go directly to my print stock labels, I can click on Save and Print Labels, and that saves me a step. But if I have other items that I'm going to enter stock labels for, I'll just continue to save. When it's done saving, it will tell you how many labels are saved to be printed. The third option is Purchase Order SKUs, one label for each item on the PO. So if I wanted to print labels for everything that I had on a purchase order, maybe I was sending it to another store, if I had multiple stores and I wanted them to get the labels ahead of time, or if I just wanted to print all of the labels for that PO ahead of time, this is the option that I could choose. And here you can be specific. If you're just doing it for a particular supplier, you can put that supplier in, a particular class, color, a PO number, a SKU, and then different options here. You have product custom entries too if you have any product custom entries set up in your organization. And you can do multiple suppliers as well. So if you put in the supplier and then a comma and then another supplier. So you could do multiple suppliers, multiple classes, multiple colors, POs, and SKUs. And the options down below are only print labels for items on order or only print labels for items received. And once I make my selections, I can click on Save if I have more labels to enter, or I can click on Save and Print Labels if I want it to save and go right directly to the label screen to print. And this last option is all SKUs, one label for each item on hand. Now what this is designed for, say for example, New Balance does a price increase for the entire list of SKUs. So we can choose this option and we can go to Supplier and choose New Balance, and it will go through and enter a label for everything on hand for all of your New Balance SKUs. This way you don't have to manually pull up each SKU and save, each SKU, save, each SKU, save. We can just choose New Balance and it will go through and look at the system, and it will look at all on your on hands and create a label for everything that you have on hand for New Balance. You can do that for classes, colors, SKUs, and then product custom entries as well. You can also use the options date last received from and to if you want labels for just items received in a certain period. So as you can see, that would save you a ton of time for those suppliers that you have price increases for that you need new labels. Now if you wanted to see what stock labels you've entered so far, you can click on the Stock Labels Enter tab. And that's going to show you all of the labels that you've entered and saved so far. So at this point we could click on the Check Uncheck All checkbox, and that will tell you how many labels in here you have set to print. There's also other ways that you can narrow this down. There's been other people that have been entering labels, so you can do it based on user if you want to, and put your user ID in and click on Lookup. And now I'm just going to see just the labels that I entered in, which is just 100. I could look them up by location, by store, by user, by class, by supplier, by SKU. So if I wanted to look up just all of New Balance, I could put in the New Balance code and click on Lookup, and that would only bring up the New Balance supplier. I can also resort these based on when they were entered, the quantity, the SKU, description, supplier code, column and row, color, location, on hand, and entered by, just by clicking on one of these items as a line underneath them, and that will resort those. Or if I wanted to delete some of these, I could check the ones that I wanted to delete and make sure the ones that I did not want to delete were not checked. So anything that's checked, if I clicked on Delete Selected Labels, that would delete those items from this list. So this gives you an opportunity. If you made a mistake, you can delete what you need to delete easily by sorting it in the right order and deleting it. That way you don't have to mess around with it when you get into the print label screen. Let's say I have one more item that I want to do. I just want to do selected SKUs, user enters what labels to print, because I just have one item that I want to print. I can put the SKU in there. I can put in the quantity and the size, and I can click on Save and Print Labels. That'll save me a step. That'll save what's on the screen and bring me directly to the print label screen. So that's the end of entering stock labels for part 1.